Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
10 years ago, on the 8th of March 2014, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur en route to Beijing with 239 people aboard and was never seen again. 1 decade later, the fate of the plane remains unsolved, and its tragic disappearance has become one of aviation's biggest and most captivating mysteries since Amelia Earhart's plane disappeared. In the aftermath of MH370's disappearance, a massive search ensued that continued for 4 years and cost millions of dollars. Even after official recovery efforts ended, amateur sleuths continued trying to locate the ill-fated plane, which disappeared from radar less than 40 minutes into the flight. But is the mystery of what happened to flight MH370 any closer to being solved 10 years on? Or at least, the mystery of where the plane's wreckage might be located? Some of the searchers who have been trying to solve this case for the past decade say yes. Richard Godfrey, a retired British aerospace engineer and creator of the site The Search for MH370, who has dedicated much of the past 10 years to that question, is convinced it would only take one more search in the right location to find MH370. Separately, Vincent Line, a former researcher from the Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies at the University of Tasmania, who has published numerous papers on the topic, has also been conducting his own independent investigation and is certain that the location of the plane is not a mystery. The precise location of MH370 is in a very deep 6,000-meter hole, about 1,500 kilometers west of Perth and along the longitude of Penang. That location reconciles all evidence, says Line. But how did Godfrey and Line each grow so sure about the plane's exact location when years of official searches have turned up nothing? Richard Godfrey is a British avionics expert and physicist who lives in Frankfurt. Working independently, Godfrey has continued his efforts to pinpoint the final resting place of the MH370 wreckage. Line has also been working on his own to do the same. Godfrey's effort has included studying what's known as WSPR signals of radio amateurs from the night of the plane's disappearance. Radio amateurs are constantly sending test signals and recording that signal data, something that's been taking place for decades. And here's why that data matters so much. When a plane flies through a radio signal, it disturbs the signal, and from that disruption, we can track the presence of an aircraft. So I went back to March 8, 2014 and downloaded all of the signals. There are thousands of them, and I started from the last known point of MH370 defined by the radar and tracked its path. The results from my tracking align exactly with the satellite data for MH370 and the Boeing data and the oceanography data. All of that effort and more on Godfrey's part, including combining different data sets that were previously kept in separate domains, has brought him to the conclusion that the plane is resting 1,500 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. The MH370 crash location, defined by the WSPR technology, is within a circle with a radius of 30 kilometers and centered at 29.128 degrees south, 99.934 degrees east. This area is 1,560 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. It will only take one more search of this area and we will find MH370, says Godfrey. At an event in Kuala Lumpur to mark the 10th anniversary of the disappearance, Anthony Loke, Malaysia's transport minister, said that he will meet the American company Ocean Infinity to discuss a new search for the aircraft that went missing 40 minutes after taking off in Kuala Lumpur. Richard's data could help make their task much easier. Line, meanwhile, has said the plane will be found west of Perth, along the longitude of Penang. This location is significant because Penang was the pilot's hometown, and the plane was found to have taken a detour to Penang in the hours after it went off course, perhaps so Shah could have a final look. Someone on MH370 was looking at Penang. Someone was taking a long, emotional look at Penang, where the captain was from, explained Captain Simon Hardy, an experienced Boeing pilot in 2015. Line believes the precise location of MH370 and its planned flight track was decoded from Shah's pilot simulator information. Similar to Godfrey, Line cites a great deal of information he has sorted through from 8 March 2014 that further supports his location theory. such as a 300-kilometer trail of cloud anomalies corresponding to the final flight track of MH370. This was from the pilot trying to hide by flying within the clouds, but instead left a long-lasting trail of highly visible anomalies in 5 independent satellite images from 3 satellite passes, says Line. There is only one person on that plane who could have masterminded that secret flight path and landing location that had personal significance in relation to being along the Penang longitude, says Line. The greatest challenge Line believes to ultimately finding the plane is that due diligence surrounding any new theory or location proposed generally gets rejected by officials who are focused on continuing to search in a region referred to as the Seventh Arc. As ATSB documents explain, the Seventh Arc is an area based on analysis of satellite data and drift modeling that MH370 is believed to have reached when it ran out of fuel and began to descend. Line says the Seventh Arc is the wrong location because it's based on the impossible notion that a plane running out of fuel immediately suffers a high-speed gravitationally accelerated dive, but with not even a shred of debris in the area. There is no competent international science review group, which I've called to be established, to objectively assess all evidence and to recommend a new search strategy, adds Line. Instead, the new search plan is exclusively extending out from the Seventh Arc or within a small, poorly surveyed area, which one group claims is hiding MH370. There has been talk of more searches taking place to find MH370. Locating the wreckage would help resolve many of the outstanding mysteries and questions surrounding the doomed flight. Perhaps most importantly, who was flying the plane when it disappeared, and whether it was indeed the captain. We won't have enough evidence to stand up in a court of law and decide who is guilty until we find the wreckage and the black box to solve this mystery, says Godfrey. Finding the wreckage would also allow us to figure out who was in the cockpit, and doing DNA samples from the skeletons in the cockpit would tell us who was there. Only then can we learn the lessons of this event in order to make aviation safer in the future.